All right, welcome back. Well, yes, as you may have seen there, we do have Honorable Chukwuemeka Nwajuba, the Minister of State for Education, joining us from our studios in Abuja. Good morning. Thank you for joining us today. Well, you may have seen and heard that report as well, concerns being raised about the education sector in this period, which almost everything is affected. So tell us, how is the ministry approaching this period, this COVID-19 period?
Well, thank you, and good morning to my fellow Nigerians. I actually have looked at the report, and it's correct in so many ways. They have actually situated our circumstance as it is. It's a big setback. What is going on at the moment is a huge setback to almost all the plans we've unfolded. But then that's the challenge of leadership. We already have retooled, and we've already set out new ways to go about this. We are engaged with all the state governors at the Ministry of Education. The focal point is the ICT Directorate. And we've always asked, we've asked all our states to please get in touch with the portal that we've created for this, so that they can take on the content that we have provided. Education on its whole, on its own, is holistically and in an organized manner getting people to learn things. So we have that. For our biggest target is the first to 12 years of classes, what we call primary schools 1 to 6, and then junior secondary to 3, and then senior secondary 3 to 6. So the 12 years. We have developed teaching content for all of our schools, all of the classes, everything that needs to be taught from our syllable, because there is a complete department, the Nigerian NERDC, whose job is to develop curricula for every class. That has been done. That work has been essentially finished, because you see, in the last 5 or 4 years since this government came in, Malam Adamu Adamu, who is the minister in the ministry, and the team there, they've done a lot of work already. Before I joined them in August, what I came in really to do is to accelerate work that already has been done. Now, as integrating these factors, everybody is already on board. They've asked that everybody who is at the state, using the UBEC umbrella we have, the Universal Basic Education Commission, which reaches out, because the funding we provide to every state through their state SUBEBs is for this sort of interaction. So we've asked them that the content we've already developed, we may not and cannot have a means to disseminate all of what we have developed to everybody in every part of the country. Therefore, we have aligned with state governors who will now buy into this content and disseminate it using channels that are available to them. It's actually a very simple procedure. It's just that many states haven't. About 20 states now are on board. And I'm still visiting a few more states to get them to get on to what is being done. The biggest challenge, and like the report pointed out, is in some our rural areas where we do not have the kind of online availability that there is. And we do not have, even if we had all of NTA or channels or all our TV stations in Nigeria on terrestrial and beaming, we will still have to have power challenges at the fringes of the country, some areas where people can't access it. Our government, the APC government, came to power as a people-oriented government. Our president is extremely pro-poor, and his challenge to us has been to go and deliver to the underserved. Our problem is not with the huge money spenders in the private secondary schools and primary schools. They already have access. Most of them already have started this online work ahead of we're trying to merge content, because many of them are running British, America, all kinds of curricula. But that's not a problem, as long as we integrate that with our Nigerian developed curricula, because that's what guides us to the exams we are going to take. And that's the challenge most of your reviewers or the reporters have indicated, that maybe some of these girls may not return to these exams. We're going to make sure they do. We've actually gotten NAPTEB, the exam body that measures technical education. We've also gotten NACO and WAEC. All of them are aligned with getting us to postpone the exams, keeping them until we are sure that the students have exhausted the syllabus. Because the curriculum that has been developed is such a manner that, as a teaching guide, we've had teachers, expert teachers, come and take every fragment of the lesson, the way it is designed and calibrated for students to be able, children, pupils, everybody to be able to get on board. Now, as we disseminate that, we're also going to be monitoring which states and where the children are. Every time I get to talk, I return to the partnership that exists between the Ministry of Education, the state ministries, and parents. Because our primary focus is a Nigerian child. My chief job as a Minister of Education is to produce for Nigeria the manpower it needs to drive the country. And education is at the root of that. At class 1, it is important that I know that my pupils that I'm taking to primary 2 will be able to read and write A, B, C, D, E, F. So it is in turn, by the time I get to primary 2, I want to be able to be sure that they can calculate. So by the time I have a child at 10, we already think that child should be able to comprehend, be able to add, and be able to, because it's on that we build the block of who is going to become a professor in 20 years or 30 years. So without that work done, we all are going to be in a problem, some sort of problem. So I've asked that this partnership that exists between the Ministry of Education and parents at home should be sustained. Parents everywhere, our ministry is open. I take from morning till night, past midnight, 3 a.m. in the morning, I'm listening to parents. From everywhere in the country, they are calling, they want to be sure what it is that the government is doing. So we take time to explain, and the challenge of the work is to be available to Nigerians almost 24/7. The president wouldn't have it otherwise. He wants you to be available to everybody at every time. The idea is that parents must come back to us. Those who are engaged with private secondary schools or private universities or private primary schools, we don't have a lot of problem with them, because when they say they are being asked to pay fees, my position is that yes, the people who provide these can ask you to pay fees. What we have provided is free content. We have partnered with, we've gone ahead, partnered with almost all the mobile telephonic companies in Nigeria, almost forcing them, and I thank them very much for agreeing to provide free internet access to the education portals. We've also partnered with UNICEF, UNICEF actually funded the initial experimentation ahead of this that was done in Bauchi 2 years ago, and seen to find out ways to make this happen. We are very grateful to the World Bank. They're running the Girl Child program, the Agile program. We believe that all these programs are targeted at getting our people resourced. We want everybody to be able to participate in this economy and to help the country. That is the focus of President Muhammad Buhari. He has, as his assistants in delivering this, we are focused in the same direction. And the work that had been done before I joined the ministry is exceptional. So we've reviewed content. We've gotten best teachers to highlight and teach these subjects. They are all online. They are available on the Ministry of Education portal. We are partnering with the states to deliver them to the last mile. Those who can log on their own, no problem. They should please log on their own. Those who have an organized way for their own schools to log on, fine. If you go to Ogun State TV, for instance, they've already logged on. In the state, they have already designed their own timetable for different subjects. and what times you can get on it. It's the same in Anambra. Anambra Broadcasting Service already started ahead of us. They were one of the first to get in, and Lagos State government is doing a terrific job. They already have scheduled all the teachings and on what frequencies on radio and TV that you can access them. That's exactly the work. I'm engaging Sokoto maybe today, and the fantastic job that Governor Zulum is doing in Borno. He's being a professor himself. He is very well aware of what we are doing, and he, in fact, he can help retool some of it. So we have fantastic governors in Gombe. We have who I've been to see the governor in Gombe, who already understands what the challenge of having teacher interfaces do. So right now we think we are challenged by cultural practices. Some places where people may not be available to be taught on radio, or their parents are not even in a position to guide them, even when we are broadcasting. Some of them, and we are going to be challenged also because we are already at the farming season in most vast areas of the north, where we do not have access to online services, or where we do not, because the coverage for online in Nigeria is weak in some parts. I'm sure you noticed the
let me just add this question.
The Ministry of
in
Communications is doing to try to make that happen.
Pardon me, Honorable Minister. Let me add this so that you might as well just respond to it in addition to what you're about to say on the challenge and how you plan to sort it out. Because there are those who are concerned about, I mean, quite a number of issues you've raised that I must acknowledge. Some who say that it is indeed going to be huge. The number of out-of-school children we do have, they are concerned that how are all these plans going to ensure that you don't have more children added to that list? Is there a feedback mechanism to ensure that, yes, indeed, because, I mean, with the advent of technology, you may have some other people who are there wouldn't just want to be tuned to learn via some of those technological platforms. So how do you plan to get across to those rural areas that you say you have challenges on to ensure that children in those areas can access those learning content?
Well, thank you. I was actually going to say that that's a challenge. We already Nigeria has the odd reputation of having the largest number of out-of-school children already. I'm sure you, throughout the week, you've heard that Northern governors met, and they've been they're trying to step down the Almajiri school system. Upon joining the ministry in August, I had also advised that we shift some focus based on the work that Malam Adamu had already worked out. We already have about 157 Almajiri schools, the Sangaya centers that were built, that weren't occupied. We began the process of handing over some of them. I was in Bauchi to hand over one to the Dawiru Bauchi and asked that we now integrate some sort of work plan in a way that makes it possible that we don't exclude the children who are already out of school. We wanted a situation where we can put them on the same meal. However, we will accommodate them where they are. Now, following this pandemic, most of these out-of-school children already displaced are going to be further displaced. But what has happened is that they are redistributing them back to their states of origin. So that what we are planning to do with them is that when I was in Gombe, I spoke with the sheikhs, and the governor made them available, and they accepted that it is possible to not dismantle what they have, but to come in and formalize it and use the opportunity of where they are already to teach them formal or Western part of the education while they still continue with that. But we are monitoring what our programs are, because each program comes with a feedback mechanism. The civil society groups are terrific. They have a body, and I've challenged them repeatedly. Give us your own content from where you see our gaps. It is our job to fill those gaps. We will try every solution. I keep telling people that I'm not afraid to try any solution. This is our country. There is nobody who will run this country except us. It is my job to run anything you suggest to me. I'm willing to try it, so that if it does not work, we try another one. We will keep getting it on this right. But the challenge is that children grow. The child cannot wait. The job of teaching, the child of getting them to learn, is a continuous process. So at any point where we meet them, whether they are out of school adults now, we have programs for mass literacy that's been ongoing. We have programs for nomadic education. The radios we're distributing, motorcycles that we want to get through to them. We're just chasing them down to wherever they are to try to teach them and make them available for us to use as a country. Because I keep saying, even if you're a road sweeper or you're a big-time farmer, a little education helps you improve your productivity. So it is important that we chase down everybody and teach them. So these challenges, we are confronting them. We are designing programs repeatedly to make sure that each child, no matter where he is, in Mongono, in Gombe, in Taraba, wherever he is, we're chasing them down. We're going to keep pushing these programs available to them.
Right. Now, just when you talked about, suggestions, saying your door is open to people to bring suggestions, one of our viewers online just tweeted that your Twitter handle is a bit inactive for them to, interact with it. And I just went to the portal, education.gov.ng, and I saw, there was challenge even reaching the site, perhaps with the whole traffic. I understand that some of these issues are there, but then what are the ways, channels, can parents, school owners, get in touch with the ministry such that they can bring in suggestions at this time where we need all hands on deck?
Thank you very much. I spoke with my colleague, the Honorable Minister of Communications, to give us further bandwidth over where we can operate, because the traffic to the site, like you pointed out, has slowed. It had slowed response time, so we're increasing that. I don't have a Twitter handle actually. That was an old Twitter handle that was about a while ago, so there's not work going on. What the channel we are using is essentially the mail and the WhatsApp channels, because what the ministry has created is a forum that continuously reaches students everywhere. All the former members of what we call old students of our unity schools have a collective. They're also talking with speak with Mr. Lawrence. We're collecting from organized NGOs a response. If parents want to make suggestions to the lines, they have the ministry's lines, or the states where they are from, get the SUBEB board. The coordinating unit for this program at the moment is UBEC secretary, the secretary of UBEC, the executive secretary of UBEC. He's coordinating all the state SUBEBs so that we can have an organized way of getting back to the ICT director, Alhaji Abubakar Isa, who is on top of this, because himself, the permanent secretary, Architect Sonio Echono, have had a complete interaction with all of them. And we're asking all our principals, headmasters, headmistresses nationwide who are monitoring to report back with their association, the ANCOPS, the Association of Nigerian Union of Teachers, so that we're getting a systemic feedback, so that everything parents tell us, we're able to respond, because some of them are area specific. They are not generic. So we need to respond to the localities and the sensibilities of the area. You may not have a problem with girl child in Lagos. You may have that only in Maiduguri, where somebody is complaining about the child. They are local.
Okay. Well, there's something you said the other time about the platforms through which education will be dispensed to students. The 12 years that you have talked about. You've talked about the radio, television, and you also talked about internet service providers. What platform will host the lectures online for those who, as you also said, will be able to access education online for their children? Is it on the website of the Ministry of Education? Or, by the way, the Twitter handle my colleague was talking about is the Twitter handle of the Education Ministry, not your specific one. You may want to respond to that later. So the platform to host these lectures, is it the Ministry of Education, or there are private organizations who are going to be hosting these lectures that will be dispensed to students?
Okay, the way it is at the moment, the Ministry of Education has its own laid out, the approved lectures and teaching aids, all of that is available. We do not say individuals can't get on Google Education or anything. Like I said, they are private ones that people may want to access. We can't monitor that. We can't tell people what not to do. What we have done is provide ours and encourage everybody to get on it. And the way we thought it would be best to do would be for the state suburbs to then take that and run it in there, because everybody may not be able to get online at the same time, and our own portal is probably going to be jammed. So we said if states can disseminate this using their own TV stations, radio stations that are local, because we have a lot of radio stations. Every state has maybe a multiple of 2 or 3 of that around Nigeria. And we're saying this is the time to make that available and useful than us trying to broadcast only from a single source. But the material that we're broadcasting on, what we've made available, is a centrally approved, standardly taught, and using best practice to deliver it, so that it is not dependent on whether the teacher in Gombe understands the language or whether the teacher in Enugu is using it is a standardized taught program. That has already been rolled out. It's available on our own website. It is available for states, and the states have also taken that content. But that does not then say we are banning anybody developing theirs. I have more than 60-something proposals from different people suggesting different things, what they can do. Once you have content, the major problem then becomes access and devices. On what device can you access the content?
If I could just jump in on that content bit, because some of them tell us, I know you've spoken a lot about that, but they say that the major challenge about this e-learning system, the LMS, is content. In fact, some say, particularly for tertiary education sector, they say some of those that have been adopted, the printed textbooks are not easily adopted to online formats, which will include pictures, the graphics, the illustration, the audio, and the video. So they ask, does the Education Ministry have what they refer to as instructional design for the academic contents?
Thank you very much. Actually, you're correct, because when the textbooks were made available to them, there was no assumption that we will now teach it online. It does not follow page by page the way the content is described, but like I said, what we've done is take it the way the NERDC, the Nigerian Education Regulatory, they are the content developers for every class, for every strata of the school education program. The idea is then to teach it in a digital format. For each class, for instance, we know in primary 1, the attention lifespan for a child at 6 or 5 is measured at about 10 minutes. So that even if you have a class time of 40 minutes, which normally is what our lesson time would be in a class, the online classes are formatted so that the children can be asked to do something within the period so that we retain his attention. As we go up to primary 6, we are now preparing somebody for an exit exam. It is the difference is not just with flipping the papers the way they are in the papers. It's now an engagement of him answering, trying to get him into the mode of all the exams. So it is not the same format. I agree with you. You're correct. The way the textbook you already have and the way it's formatted for online is slightly different. So people may not follow it completely like that. That's why we've gotten people who know how to format that to do that. They've done that. If you look at how people are taught, the face-to-face teachers are indispensable. You have to appreciate that these online classes are just probably second to our preferred option, which is not available. What is not available right now is our preferred option, which is getting teachers who are trained to do this and to watch when a child is listening or not listening, whether he's understanding or comprehending what you're saying, and to simulate them. Teachers are taught that. That's the pedagogy that goes with going to school for teaching. They are taught that. That is not available to us because of the constraint of the pandemic and how our country is approaching it, which is the correct way to do it. We are members of the Presidential Task Force and we've advised on this. So we know that we're doing the right thing. However, this is only second Online is in the absence of the one we would have preferred. This is what we are now getting. And that's why we're saying it is now a partnership we're building with the parents who are the last mile in all of this. They are the people who create the time. They are the ones who, if in the north, the biggest selling item is Tiger battery. Why is that? Because to get radios, to actually be at we may not be able to distribute Tiger batteries. People don't understand why that is so important for us. You may hear Ministry of Education looking for Tiger. The reason we're looking for that is that they power this radio that actually gets parents to even begin to think that it's available for their children to. Why is the radio not available for him to do what he wants to do? We are pleading to him that that family radio should be made available to at least one child for the content. So the challenge, like you pointed out, my brother, is our job. That's why I'm seeking partnership at every level. The work you're doing, explaining to people, is the same work we're doing, getting parents to say, look, you're helping us, you're doing me a favor, teach this child, help me, give him the device. That's the device that is available at that point. I can't distribute 20 million computers. I can't. We don't have the resources as a country to give everybody a laptop. We can't, and we may not get there immediately. We're on our way there. That's the whole idea behind this. We are focused on making sure everybody can. But in the meantime, here is an emergency. We need everybody to get on deck. Whatever problems you have, call in. We want to partner with you to try to solve them. I agree. The Twitter handle he mentioned, if it's Ministry of Education, as soon as we get out of here, I'm going to try to address that. Yeah.
All right, Honorable Minister, we know you do have a tight schedule, but we hope that at least you'll be able to afford us some more opportunity to get some of these messages and feedback from people to you so that you can always keep addressing them as you said you will do. But we do thank you for your time this morning. It's Honorable Chukwuemeka Nwajuba, the Minister of State for Education. Thank you for your time this morning.
Thank you, channels, and please get our people involved. I appreciate your work. Thanks a lot.
All right, then. Well, back in a moment. Don't go away.